Thank you for attending the Week of Kindness. Coming up next is another powerful, impactful, amazing speaker. Get your notepad out, get your pen. Let's get ready and enjoy.
Hey guys, it's me again. All right, you can't get rid of me. I'm a ghost. I will be following you everywhere during the Week of Kindness. All right, so we have another awesome, amazing speaker. He's one of our gold members, one of my friends. He's actually a TEDx speaker, and he brings a bat, and he swings and knocks it out of the park for you guys. I'm telling you guys, David Chametzky, who's known as Uncle Dave, is a highly authentic person who wears his heart on his sleeve because he has a special passion for empowering and serving people who are looking to level up and improve themselves as many ways in life and go through a process which Uncle Dave's trademark called Clubber Tea. I love that. It's a process where you guys can learn, grow, and constantly not be looking back at the obstacles in your life and the past learning and how to avoid future obstacles. And so he says, I'm just like you, and just like a regular guy who has at times struggled in phases in his life, and he found the proper resources and techniques to find resiliency and growth to not just go backwards, but forward. I love that. No backwards, only forwards. No past, only future. Dave shares from personal experience and techniques what he has worked for him and thousands of others, and success through hard work and dedication, which will help the ability to overcome challenges. He has been on so many stages, and if I kept reading his bio, there would be no time for Mr. Dave. And let me tell you guys this too. Dave has an awesome podcast, and if you're real nice, he might just bring you on his podcast. So without further ado, let's bring on David Chametzky, TEDx speaker, podcast host, author, father, I think, family man, the man with the plan and the bat, David Chametzky.
There you go. How you doing, Eric? Thanks so much for that introduction, and I really appreciate everybody coming on today. We're talking about kindness. I think kindness is one of the best things to talk about because really what we do is lift ourselves up. There's so many different ways to lift ourselves up, and just showing kindness and showing up in each other's lives, that's really what we're here for. And that's what I really want to talk to you about. I want to show up in your life today, talk about a little kindness, give you some techniques that I'm sure you can always be kind to yourself. Or sometimes I say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be kind to yourself by touching yourself in a special way. And that special way is just rubbing your hands. That special way will always be there for you to be your reset button. Now, I'll explain about that a little bit more. But I really wanted to talk about kindness. Because you cannot do kindness too soon, because you never know when too soon will be too late. And that was a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And that's really a powerful thing. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk to you about today. Is about time, passions, and bringing authenticity today. Because we never know when we're going to keep our promises. Last year, about this time, I got a call. We all have that one friend you get a call from, and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Well, the call was from his girlfriend, and they couldn't get in touch with him. Would I mind going to their house and checking things out? It's unusual. I had spoken to him a week earlier, and he was like, yeah, he's just trying to avoid his girlfriend, and he's trying to really tell a little bit, put some space. And what do we do? So I go in, I go from where I live, about a half hour to where he lives. And long story, we broke into his apartment, and he was gone. He was left. And the really big challenge with that is he had promises. He was a kind soul, and it's one of those people that you bring on. And what happens when you do those things? You make kindness what you have to do. And what did I do? I always made him a promise. He had no family, that I would take care of his mom. His mom was 82, Alzheimer's. What would you do? That's what I'd love for you to think about. Is really having the idea of what you would do to show kindness in ways that you wouldn't have to. Nobody had to stand up, but it's the right thing to do. Kindness, when we need to reduce our stress and we touch ourselves that way with our hands, it really seeps into our soul. And that's the really powerful part of kindness, is that kindness does seep into your soul. And what do you do when it seeps into your soul? Now, there's plenty of quotes. We could talk about kindness, peace, and love, which is part of my podcast that Eric had mentioned. Peace, love, and bring a bat. Well, really, what does that mean? The bat is about bringing authenticity today, keeping your promises to who you are, because we all make promises. And what do we do when we make promises? How many of those keep us? It's early in the year. It's still not even the end of the first. It's the third week of the month of the year. How many people have already broken those New Year resolutions? And that's really what the promises we are. How do we want to grow? Because either we're growing or we're dying. Now, I take every opportunity and see where the growth comes out of it. I didn't always do that. As Eric said, I talk about being on the path. And being on the path really is challenging at times. Because while we're on our path, we think we might know what we're on the right path. And PATH stands for Personal Attitudes Towards Happiness. And it's all about ourselves. We're walking ourselves back home. As Ram Dass says, we walk each other home, but it's our journey. How many of you, if you put in the comments, let me see, you put in the comments, I'd love to hear what you're thinking about what your journeys look like and how you'd like to overcome some of the challenges, those personal challenges, how you've overcome the things to do that because you've made promises by kindness. We carry out random acts of kindness. And I'd like to see if anybody actually carries on any random acts of kindness. There was one time I was in Seattle and I was feeling down. I bought flowers at the fish market. Anybody who's been there knows it's the bottom of it, right off the water. But I then walked around Seattle giving away flowers. And it wasn't as easy as you think it would be. Why isn't it easy for us to receive as well as it is to give? A lot of us are very generous in our time, in our efforts, and it's because we don't want to receive. Not that we don't want all the riches of the world. We might not feel that we're worthy. That's one of those personal pieces, and have to learn how to overcome ourselves. And when we overcome ourselves, that's where the power becomes. The power is within us, as Les Brown has said. It's how we use the power and what we do with the power of kindness, the power of love. And really, that's where it is, because love and kindness really blesses too. When you give something of yourself, your time, your effort, your ear to listen, that's a powerful moment. And what you need to do is, as you're holding on to those moments, is appreciate the moments. Sit back and really enjoy it. Hi, Olivia. I appreciate it. It's excellent to meet you as well. And as we're in that moment, we want to make sure that we find the path within ourselves. And when we find the path, the attitude, the mental attitude that we have, and now everybody has an attitude, a good attitude, or as you could probably hear, I'm from New York, so I could definitely give you a little attitude. But it's really the idea, the clarity of what you want. When you have those personal ideas and then taking the action. And when we take action, that's the beauty of it. So that day that I was giving out flowers, I walked around giving out bouquets of flowers. Some people were scared to receive that. I wasn't asking for a date. I wasn't asking for anything more than just kindness, a piece of my heart, and the smile that it brought to people. What are we doing today to actually bring out some smiles for each other? How are we showing up really in each other's lives? That's the powerful parts of doing it. I talk about power because there's so much power within ourselves once we can love ourselves. And I'm going to tell you a story. So I've been in the darkness. I've been in the ashes. And there's a quote in Dante's Inferno where it says, "In the middle part of my life, I found myself in a dark wood, and in the strangest place, I found my path." And I've done that also. I knew my path. I was able to help people to find their path. But I didn't always focus on myself. When I was in my darkest path, where I tried to hurt myself, I was once asked, "Do you love yourself?" And at that moment, I couldn't say yes. I looked in my eyes, I looked in the mirror, and it was dead eyes. I could help people. I knew how to help people. I wasn't good about receiving. I wasn't good about taking care of myself. I needed to rise from the ashes and find the kindness and love. And it all starts from within ourselves. I'm glad, Tommy, you like what the PATH stands for. Thank you. And really, when we're taking those actions and finding that happy place, that's where kindness comes in. Because once we love ourselves, we can love each other on a different, completely different level. And that's one of the things I'll talk about is this unconditional love. When we have unconditional love, that doesn't mean you're giving something and you're expecting something in return. And most people find a hard time doing that, much like those flowers that I gave in Seattle. People were thinking I was asking for something else, but then they smiled when I walked away. And even one person who asked me, what is this all about? They're trying to figure out my angle. And I said, I just wanted to make somebody's day that much nicer. Sometimes when we're feeling down, we need something to lift us up. And it's not always doing something. You can always lift somebody up by using your hand, by lifting your hands and using your heart in so many different ways. Now, many of us on this show have had the friend and the blessing of being around Frank Shankowitz, who is the co-creator of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Among the conversations I was lucky enough to have with him, is to talk about what we could do when we feel the lowest to then rise ourselves. And it always goes back to kindness and showing kindness not only to ourselves, but to those around us. Because we could be the change in the world that we have. And once we have the change, that's really overcoming the challenges and showing the kindness. Because kindness is like that flower. It blooms. We see it. We could appreciate it. Gratitude is really a big, powerful piece. And what I'd like everybody to do is, again, thinking about this rubbing the hands. That's always going to reset you, no matter where you are and what strategies you have. The breathing mechanisms, if we take those deep breaths and watch our breaths, it brings us back into that gratitude. And the special rubbing of our hands will always create, using our body chemistry, to overcome any of the challenges we feel. It's a lot deeper than that, but that's where we start. And when we start planting that seed in our head, and we're talking about kindness today, anybody who's on this show is really thinking about being kind and wanting to be motivated in hearing the kindness in our lives. This kindness ripples. It really does. Once you hold the door for somebody, you might change that person's state. And when you change that person's state, they can change everything else around them. It really is that magical butterfly effect. And that's why when I talk about flowers, we want to pollinate. We want to pollinate our communities, our immediate environment, our families. And that's what the path comes down to, is when we're walking on our path, smell the flowers that we're taking and really move it. Once we really move and taking those actions, that's when you bring in your most authentic self. If you really could be honest with everybody, that's what we all want for each other, is to be able to show up in each other's lives. Like I showed up in my friend's life, and at the end of his life, I then showed up in his mom's life. And while she had Alzheimer's, I was lucky enough and blessed enough to be part of the end of her journey in her life. Because that's what we do. That's by keeping our promises. And there's a lot of things that we do in our lives. And if you keep our promises to be kind. And while this is great to have Kindness Week, how about I want to challenge everybody to have Kindness Month. Keep going. There was a quote by Harry Chapin, who was a musician in the 70s, who then did a lot of gathering of food. He has a food pantry here on Long Island. And he said it's great to always collect the food on Thanksgiving. But what are the people going to eat next week? What are we going to do kind next week? I want to challenge people. I really would love to challenge everyone on this call who listens to it at any point, either live a replay, or any other time that's going to happen, is what are you doing to spread your kindness? What are you doing to pollinate your world? Now, Eric had mentioned about my podcast, and that's one of the reasons I do my podcast, is to spread peace, love. We understand peace. It's that peace within ourselves. When I started saying about needing to reset ourselves, let's go and what do we do to find the peace? Now, there's always going to be stuff outside of our lives. When we're able to live within ourselves and experience those big challenges within ourselves and seeing the kindness in our heart, because most people do not operate in the way that they want to hurt us. They operate what's best for them, and that's okay. We need to understand that, and that brings us a lot of peace when we can manage the things that are happening to us or people coming over to us. It's not always about us. And if it's not about us, then we can control ourselves and see the reactions differently and react a little bit differently. And that's where we bring in more love. You know, religiously, when I was talking to somebody recently about peace and love, you know, love is that unconditional peace. And the idea of love is that unconditional, that you're doing it. And that's what kindness, that's why I wanted to talk about this kindness in terms of the love. Because when we talk about kindness and unconditional, how many people are willing to just give of themselves and not ask for anything in return? Not do anything because I want something in return or what's going to happen? What if the universe really watches everything that we do? And you'll get it back, but just differently. It might not be from that one person that you want the kindness, the peace, or the love from. It's finding the balance in your life. And when we find the balance and knowing how to find the peace, because life will always give us obstacles in our way. And when we have the obstacles in our way, that's really where our challenges go. And that's where we get lost in the woods. And one of the things that I do is I'm a pathfinder. I assist people to find their path, find the right path for themselves by techniques that I just showed you with the rubbing the hands. It goes a lot deeper because that helps release things in our brain. And really, when we do all the things that we do, that's what really starts making those changes. It's the consistency. It's not just doing it once. We don't go to the gym just once. We can't be kind just once. It needs to be consecutive. It needs to be consistent. And that's really where we walk along our path. And that's when we take those personal steps in kindness, in showing people the attitude that we're in. And when we're in the attitude of that we want to be kind, we want to be grateful. The great thing about all those things, as kind as you want to be, you're allowed to be even kinder. And you're able to do it all the time and be grateful because the universe will bless us back with all the kindness and gratitude, with more things to be kind, more opportunities to be kind, as well as more opportunities to be grateful. And the more grateful we are, the actions we take will lead us to that land of happiness, that land of better health, because it's all within us. The power within us really is so powerful. And it's that flower that once it grows, it blooms. You can smell the differences. I'd like everybody for a few seconds just to close their eyes as they start rubbing their hands for a few seconds. But I'd like you, as you close your eyes, to picture you are on your own path. And when you're on your own path, what promises are you making to yourself? And where have you gotten lost on your path? What type of walking, what type of path are you on? You don't need to share it, but have the idea in your head. What would it look like if somebody could help you, guide you along the path and find the better path for you? Because sometimes we do things that are not as healthy as we thought. We've just been doing it for a long time. We need to break the pattern. We need to create really these phoenix moments where we have a new path, where we begin to soar, So as you start walking on this path, I'd like you to pretend you're a bird. I'd like you to, if you want, even in your chair, wherever you're listening to this, pretend you're a bird. What does it feel like as you're walking through the dirt and you start to flap your arms, flap your wings, and you start flying? And you start feeling the power that we talked about earlier, the power within us because of the kindness, the gratitude, the learning that we take along the way on our journey. And as you go higher and higher to new levels, what are you seeing that is going to take you and be able to make you learn how to go even higher? There's a bird trusts itself and it trusts its ability to fly. That's why when it takes off from a tree, it's not concerned. And what are you doing to keep that kindness? What ripples are you doing? How are you floating in the air and passing through that gratitude, knowing that your power within you can do that? Now, I don't know how many people are watching. I'd love you to share how many different birds we might have. I'm sure that we have some cardinals, we have some orioles, we have some beautiful birds. I'd love to, if anybody wants to kind of pop in a bird that they thought about while we were going through that journey. And I'd like to leave you this. I know we're getting close to time, and we want to try to keep things on the schedule. And the one thing that I really want to leave with you is a hummingbird. Sure, hummingbird. Thank you, Olivia. And really, what I'd love to do is just think about all the type of birds that you were. And the bird that I always talk about is the phoenix because it rises out of the ashes. And that's the kindness I want you to do. I want you to be kind to no matter what's gone on in your rear view mirror, as we talked about our past. Remember, our windshield is so much bigger than the rear view mirror. A dove. I love that, Tammy. Thank you. And really, I'd love you to think about that soaring and what you're going to do. Because that's exactly what I wrote about in my book that just came out. When it's your time to, your heart knows when it's your time to soar. And really, it's one of those things. And at the end of that book, there's a story I'd like to also share with you about my own mom who passed away late last year. I got the beautiful part of sitting down with her, holding her hand, and talking to her, and knowing that within a few weeks at that point, she was going to pass on. But I got to say everything. And that's what we need to do. And that's where I started off this whole talk with the Ralph Waldo Emerson talk about we don't know when kindness is too soon because we don't know how much too soon it is. We don't know our time. And that was why I shared my story about my friend Kevin. Really, we don't know what our time is. Be kind today. Be kind and keep that consistency going forward. And when we keep that consistency going forward, you're going to change your life. You're going to change yourself and life around you. I saw a blue jay from Heart of Inspiration. Thank you. I love blue jays. I love them all, actually. And that's really what I'd love you to do. If you'd like to contact me, I'd love to connect with everybody on here or everybody's listening to either talk about being on their path and how I might be able to assist them, or even just having a conversation. And I'd love you to listen to Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. I'm always looking for guests because it's fun to hear about everybody's story of inspiration. We all have that. I want to hear all the opportunities that you're sharing kindness and charity work. Everybody can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. That was amazing. That was so amazing and so gentle. And I'm actually going through here and I'm gonna grab your contact information. If you want to give it to me, let me get it into the chat. I know that they can reach you on the Easy Way Wall of Fame. I believe you're over there, right?
Yep,
So this is another reason why we got to go to the Easy Way Wall of Fame, guys, and so we can connect with David. How else can we get in touch with you, David?
You can go to my website, which is davidchametzky.com. So, or check out on social media.
All right.
David Chametzky almost everywhere.
Awesome.
And there's not many of us. So
I would imagine no.
Yeah, so, which is good.
We have certainly enjoyed you, and I definitely need to have you on my podcast as
I
well,
love that.
Sunday Soul Podcast. Let's exchange and let's get on each other's, David. I just
You got
love
it.
your gentle soul and your message. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, Lisa, and definitely we'll talk further after.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being a part of the Week of
Thank you
Kindness.
so much.
You guys, if you want to hear David's talk again, don't forget if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, somewhere other than Event Raptor, you need to go to www.weekofkindness.com. You can register for free right there. And then please do consider upgrading your ticket to VIP so you can hear David's talk again and all of the other great speakers for just $97 for the entire year. And you will be helping us to support the Better Vision for Children Foundation. David, I am honored to have met you, dear sir, and I'm looking forward to working with you even more.
You got it. Thank you so much again for the opportunity. And this has been great. I've been peeking in on social media, on Facebook. Uh, Amazing speakers. I thank you so much for being a part of this event. It's definitely a passion of mine.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, guys, listen, in just a few minutes, just give us an extra about 7 minutes. So at 40 after the hour, whatever time zone you're in, we're going to have Dr. Mort Orman. Dr. Mort
He's awesome.
Orman. Another amazing
Yeah,
guys.
he also will teach you about stress. You got to listen to Mort. I love Dr. Mort.
Oh my gosh. See, you got to come back right back. Okay, guys. So we're going to let you go here, but you will be able to, let me drop his video in the chat. Hold on 1 second here. We're going to drop that video in the chat. You know, this self-production thing. I really need to get somebody to help me out here. Okay, here we go. Mort Orman is next. Mort Orman at 40 after the hour. Okay. All right, gang. We will see you guys soon. Thank you for being here at the Week of Kindness. Everybody take care. Bye. Wow. I hope you enjoyed that just as much as I did. Thank you so much for all of that great information. Hey, we're not done yet. So just relax. We're going to continue on with our next speaker in just a few moments.